Hello, welcome to Cerulean Arts Gallery. Tonight we're speaking with Ruth Wolf in conjunction with her Cerulean Arts Collective Exhibition, which is on view now through May the 4th. Hello, Ruth.
Hi, Mike. Hi, Tina.
Thanks for being here tonight.
Well, thank you for everything that you and Tina have been doing over these past years. It's been very nice working with you.
Well, thank you. So tell us about the new show.
Well, the new show has eight 12 by 12 portraits of my people. The host spotlighted your video for everybody. Okay, and the 12 by 12 portraits are a lot to do with experimenting with materials. This one now, which is that's I think
Evelyn?
That's Evelyn. Evelyn is was a tube of this iridescent or interference white that was very pasty, and I squeezed the whole tube onto the canvas, and I took um a it, I don't remember if it was a stick or a palette knife or something rigid, and just started to move the paint around and see how it globbed, and then I scratched into it, and um, until I got Evelyn to come. Evelyn came out of all this playing around, and it's really interesting that there in some areas where the light hits it, there's this green overlay, and in other areas you don't pick up the green. And I tried to pull that by having the complementary of the cadmium red behind the green, the iridescent green flakiness, and tried to pull that color contrast, the contrasting colors. And so that's Evelyn. The next one is Ashley, and Ashley is just that. I used ash to bring her out, and again, just moving the materials with acrylic medium around the canvas, and finding a personality in that, and then waiting for that to dry. And the blue in the back is a liquefied ballpoint pen. I open up the big marker, the big ballpoint pen, and with alcohol, it liquefies into a very fluid material and has this unique indigo type color. And that's what I use there. And there's other portraits in the interior where I've used that combination of the alcohol and the ballpoint pen ink to see what I can get with it, what kind of qualities do that materials gives me. This is Wava. Wava. Actually started this one by taking a yellow. I don't use yellow a lot. Yellow is a very intense, overpowering color, and I wanted to use it to see how I could get it to not be as dominant as yellow wants to be. So I started, and I covered the whole 12 by 12 with the yellow, and then in order to kill the yellow, I put down the red, and then I worked a texture into the red, which was very pasty and but malleable. And I got this pattern, and in the pattern I found Wava, and then I used a spray. The gray is a spray, uh, and I spray it on an angle to so it picks up the high points and shadows, and so that's the experiment. At what angle and at what distance do I need to hold the spray can in order to get the kind of effect that I would find to be satisfactory? And then to give form to the face, I used a white waxy crayon, and and because I saw waves, I called her Wava.
So after
And
your initial material experiments, do they become personalities for you?
right. First, I do I have this material, materiality, and then I let the materiality and the uh, irregularities of the surface, because of the way the materials ad adhere to the surface. I spend a lot of time looking, and I say, who is talking to me from this page, and uh, and I when I see it, I capture it, and that it's actually a very quick process. Now this is that's Ashley. Is that no? That's
Evelyn at night.
Evelyn at night. Evelyn at night is phthalocyanine green. That's another color that I have always found very difficult to incorporate in my bigger paintings. So I said, I'm going to take this phthalocyanide and I'm going to make it the dominant color on this 12 by 12. And then I found I was using that's it's a burnt sienna. So burnt sienna or burnt umber. I always get them confused. It's one of those. And I was doing something on another canvas, and I really liked the way that color was acting on that other piece. So I used it here with the green to see how it was what was going to happen to it. And again, because of the qualities of complementary colors, the brown dominates towards the red in relation to that really, I don't know how to describe that phthalocyanine. That green is so dark and acidy. But I found Evelyn at night, and the one on top with the purple is Wava at night, and Wava is again, I used ash to I used ash. I put down that purple. I covered the whole page with purple, and I had a dirty brush, and so I did a really quick kind of zigzag stroke with the dirty brush in the purple, and that gave me those nice sort of wavy kinds of textures. And so there I got Wava at night, and that's and then there's three more. Now these are that's it. That's Inga. Inga is the ballpoint pen that I opened up the Bic pen and just forced the ink out into a little jar with alcohol and really liquefied the ink and used it there. And then the speckly quality is again the waxy crayon, like I used in Wava, and very gently on the surface of the canvas, it just picked up on the weave and got that kind of speckled effect. And when I found that was happening, I pushed it. And that was nice to see how I could be, depending on how much pressure I put on the material, I could get a linear effect or a pasty effect, which is the brow and the nose and the cheeks, the highlights, or the same material with more pressure becomes pasty. And in the other area, I kept it very light and just barely hovered over the surface and got that kind of speckle effect from the grain of the cloth. And then I put a few strokes in just to tell myself that this is a drawing material. And there's Inga. So Inga is ink, Inga. And Kathy Kisses over there. She's kind of cute. I had a little booklet of these kisses that I had gotten years and years ago, and just refound them. I must have been going through looking for something, and I found them, and I just decided to put them in a grid pattern. You know, I'm big on grids. On the canvas, and then I found Kathy Kisses there, so and again, that's the ink. Now here I took the ballpoint pen and I really drew into the surface as you would use a pen as a writing implement, and then with a brush with alcohol, I liquefied it on the surface. So instead of liquefying it in a little jar, here I liquefied it on the surface, and then the little blue T-shirt is acrylic paint, and then Vespid is I got the wasp's nest. The wasp's nest, the wasps make a paper, and I started to adhere that onto the surface of the canvas, and then that had gone through a lot of permutations to finally find the character in there, and this one I consider a male character. I do mostly women, but every once in a while a guy comes out. And Vespid, I looked up, I Googled wasp, and I found that Vespid is a word for a particular kind of wasp. So that's where I got the title for that piece. So those are my 12 by 12s, and I have a lot of fun and a lot of discovery that goes on with just these very spontaneous, what will the materials tell me? What do the materials want? What do the materials tell me that they want? And how can I get the most out of them if I really listen to them and sense their flexibility and not be rigid with forcing them to do something, but having them talk to me. That's that. Does that answer your question, Mike?
Yes.
Okay. I feel like I did a lot of talking. Can we talk about life on Mars? And then we'll go to predestination. So there's life on Mars. I believe I told you when I came into the when I dropped the work of at the Cerulean for the show that I am particularly happy with this painting.
Yes.
There's a lot that I pushed with the nuances of the blue, and also with, again, with what does what's the story with color? Yeah, what really does color do to the meaning of the piece? And the meaning is multi-leveled. It's the meaning as far as the formal aspects, and the meaning as far as the narrative aspects. And that's your fault, Mike.
How so?
That's because you grilled me last time we had this one of these talks about the meaning behind the narrative, and I primarily let the painting speak. I when I paint, I think about what the paint is doing, what the color is doing, what does the color need to do? How can I get a kind of dynamic that is either a unifying dynamic compositionally or a conflicting dynamic compositionally? And how is that going to take me as a viewer and move me around the arena that is the picture plane? And then the figuration becomes apparent when I have the composition and I have the movement with how my eye is moving around the canvas. Then I can say to myself, what do I need to pull a narrative out of it so that there is another level of engagement? And so the little glass with that acts as a still life, I needed something that was on the surface so that everything would be pushed back. So I thought to myself, what would do that? And this is what would do that. Now, in another painting, I could use the same kind of brushstroke and the same kind of color, which I have done. I've used the same kind of brushstroke, the same kind of color, and talked in terms of the surface of water. And here I tried to talk in terms of the surface of a tabletop, and in being in an interior space and looking out through a window, which is the grid, into an exterior space. And then also is the figures in the interior space, or the figures in the exterior space on the other side of the window, or are the figures a reflection of what's going on in the interior space onto the window, which would be like a reflective surface? So I have those three kinds of spaces that I'm addressing here. And I just had all this red in there, and I must have been watching something on a science program about a Mars mission or something. There's always something on TV like that. And I thought, oh, what an interesting title, Life on Mars. So I said that's a winner, and I feel very good about this painting. I feel like I was very successful in manipulating the space and getting color dynamics, and having just enough of a narrative there to be intriguing. So that's Life on Mars. And then the piece that I spent a lot of time on developing is this 5-panel, what I call a visual graphic novel, Predestination. And I said to myself, this whole concept of starting a painting, or in the development of the painting, thinking in terms of a narrative sequence. And so I sequenced a day, dawn. So this is the dawn, and then I used reference to color for what is the dominant color for a particular time of the day. So dawn was very twofold, because you have the coming out of night with just a hint of light activating the colors, and then you have when the sun actually comes up and there's that streak of light that dawns. So that's in that one box down at the bottom. That was the very cresting, or the when the sun first comes up and starts to shoot out its rays over the gray, and then up above that, I have something that is more nighttime with still having some light in the sky from stars. And so I have those little flecks of, I think I used a silver Sharpie, and I drew right on top of that to get that kind of contrast with the whatever blue purple I was using, something like that. And then I play it. There's a lot of play with color and color nuance and moving the eye around. And I started with that very. I started with some very intense marks of color, and I say to myself, how can I get them to integrate? And so that's what happened in that very strange blue-green. That's again one of those colors that you don't quite know how to identify them, whether they're a color harmony or a color of discord. I put it down there and I see what it'll do, and that's so that's that one. And then at the very edge of the piece, on the right side, on the left side, there's that red streak, and that red streak ties into the red streak in the next one, which is day. And so day is full of I use the orange and the blue, because day is always full of conflict. There's starting on the left, starting on the right over there, which is like an entryway. So is your day one that you go out from an inner space and you deal with the world, or do you function coming from an outer space into an inner space to deal with the day? I mean, that's why I put that doorway over there. And then I just really went to town with those blues. I was layering those blues like crazy. There are, I don't I can't even remember how many layers of different blues I put one on top of another to get those blues to finally be at a place that I could say, yeah, this is this I can live with this. And then I got that little figure up there that I had in the previous canvas, the little running figure, running away. I sort of painted a little storm over there, and I got the figure running away from the storm, and so that hopefully that figure running out of the canvas runs into the next canvas, which is that I call that's sundowner. That's sundown. And sundown is and the color of sundown the color that I started with for sundown is that magenta, that when the sun goes down, there's that magenta sky, and that is a very I it's a color I just particularly feel attached to. I really there's some colors that I like and I feel a color harmony with, and other colors like that phthalocyanine green that I find particularly alien. And so this had to do with using that magenta type pinkish purplish sundown kind of color. And then I talked a little bit about a little bit about how we deal with our life at the end of the day. And I guess I was a little bit sentimental there on the narrative, but why not? So we'll just leave it at that. And there's that brown, the umber or sienna. That's the same color I used on Evelyn at Night, and you can see how differently it acts in this arena with these colors, and how differently it acts and reads next to that phthalocyanine green. It really is a color that, well, all colors are dependent on what colors they inhabit with, and this is a case in point where this color acts this way here, and how it acts a totally different way in Evelyn at Night. So that's Sundowner, and this is Moonlight. Moonlight again was what is the quality of light when the only light source is the light being reflected from the moon, and what is the quality of that light. And that's what I was working with here. And some of this stuff, Mike, I work, quite frankly, I did these paintings, and I'm working on other paintings now. I'm dealing with other issues, and I'm trying to remember what was relevant at the time that I did these paintings. And I don't remember. I don't remember what I was thinking about here. I was just going in and out of just I don't know. I don't know. This is like it took me a long time to get this thing to work spatially, and I it was it went through so many permutations that I don't know even how to talk about it myself. So I'll just leave it at that. And that's the way night is. Night is always a big confusion. So and then that's moonlight. This is night. Night is called gates, or gates is called night. And this also is another painting that went through a lot of permutations and a lot of changes. And it started as a bigger landscape, and then just the space just enclosed upon itself with the darks, and it became night with just a few select colors coming through all those dark browns. And I had a lot of dark I had a lot of blacks actually, which I overpainted with the browns and the blues to 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 kick the blacks into a color family rather than being a total void. But I guess as the day wore on, my mind became a total void, and that's what I have here at night. I have a total void. So this is one walk around predestination. Tomorrow, the story will be totally different. So it's up to you to take your story to these pieces and let yourself be visually stimulated by the color. That's bottom line, color. It's the color that is the primary, and then once you settle in with acknowledging the color, then you can let your mind wander and pick and choose on those little narrative references to to be the story, to be the play. And if you want to engage, you engage. And if you don't want to engage, you move on and you go into the next room and look at somebody else's work. And paint the paintings and make the decision to show them because I want to engage. I don't want to put a show up that is going to be something that you walk away from and forget. I want.
No, not your work. It definitely pulls you in.
Well, this is why I spend the time to do it. I want to be able to engage and have people say that the time they spent looking at my work, they feel as if it wasn't time that they'll never get back.
Right. So the show is up through May 4th. We hope people come down to see it, and everything's also available on the website, ceruleanarts.com. So Ruth,
Thank you.
thanks so much.
Thank you, Tina.
Thanks, Ruth.
Thanks for being here, and have a great night.
Good night.